20 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Monday morning. Yeah, this coming Sunday is Mother's Day. You know, I have a couple of ladies in my family, nieces, who they and their husbands have adopted children. Nieces and nephews who have adopted children, what I should have said there. And I think, I might be wrong about this, but I think in every case, the birth mother is not unfamiliar. In other words, they know the birth mother. I think in every case, I could be wrong about one or two of them. But one story, real quick, I wanted to tell you. One of the boys that was adopted, when he became 18, he wanted to know more about he knew he was adopted, but he didn't know much about his birth mother. And it turns out he had a brother, and my nephew and his wife gave it their blessing. They wanted him to find out about his birth roots and all of that, and it turned out to be a very sweet and beautiful thing. I don't know, maybe sometimes people are reluctant to have that happen, but it was beautiful for everybody involved. And I don't know the lady who was his birth mother, but I'm sure it really filled a gap that she had been experiencing in her life. Kris, I didn't get a chance to ask you how to pronounce your last name. I'm going to give it a shot. Faasse is on the phone, the Senior Vice President of Clinical Operations at Bethany Christian Services. And Stephanie Berent is on the phone. She's the birth mother who worked with Bethany's pregnancy counseling team to create an adoption plan that best suited her needs. And Birth Mother's Day, by the way, is the day before Mother's Day, correct? This Saturday?
Yep, May 9th.
All right, Kris and Stephanie, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Kris, how do you say your last name?
Faasse, you did it well.
I did it. All right. And are you both calling from the same place?
No, actually, we're in the same state, but different sides.
Oh, what state? Where are you?
We're in Michigan.
In Michigan. Well, thank you for being on the air. So, Stephanie, how old is your child?
My son is about 2.5.
2.5. And do you have a good relationship with the adopted parents?
I have a wonderful relationship with them. I chose them about halfway through my pregnancy, and from that point forward, we worked on building a very strong relationship so that once my son was born, we would maintain that relationship. And through the past 2.5 years, I've been there for pretty much all the important things that have happened in his life. I see him about once a month, so it's a wonderful ongoing relationship that I think we're going to continue to build for the rest of life.
That is beautiful. I'm sure there's so much emotion wrapped up in this whole thing for you. Kris, did you know Stephanie when she was pregnant?
No, I no longer am able to work directly with expectant moms and dads. It's something that I missed, but I get my feed when I get to talk to the Stephanies that we work with. Okay. So how does this work, and how can the rest of us learn from this? This sounds like the healthiest way to handle adoptions. Am I right about that, or is it a case by case? Maybe it's not always the best thing. I'm guessing sometimes it's not. There may be unique situations where it's not the best thing, but by and large, we find it's the healthiest, and it's the healthiest for everyone in that triad, both birth families, adoptive families, and kids.
I don't know if this is an insensitive question, but does the birth father have connections too, or no?
Very often. In fact, we make a point of reaching out to expectant dads to involve them in the process. And in my experience, I've seen moms and dads, birth moms and dads, have a very unique relationship with the adoptive family, and sometimes we've seen them have a relationship that's together. So it really depends on the people involved.
And then do some of the dads, like the mom will have the baby, and then she will, and since she wants to give the baby up for adoption anyway, will she just have the dad be the dad so the dad can raise the baby?
Well, we've certainly seen that happen, where a dad is ready and capable and wants to parent, and then we certainly would support that, but that is the decision for that mom and dad to make, and certainly not for the agency.
So tell me about Bethany Christian Services, and I think the best way to use the time we have is to help us understand how we can have something. It sounds like you've got a good thing going up there in Michigan. Is this something we could duplicate down here?
We actually have an office down in the Orlando area. We also service Southern Florida and the Panhandle. So we've got offices all over the country, and you can find out where we are by you by visiting our website at bethany.org, bethany.org.
Sometimes children have to go into foster care, and then those children are put up for adoption. Do you also help with that foster care placement? So when you place the child with the family, that hopefully that family will adopt the child?
Absolutely. Bethany is a pretty complex organization. We do foster care. We do foster care adoption. We do infant adoption and intercountry, as well as different services to strengthen and support existing families. But I think when we talk about Birthmothers Day, very often that's really focusing on moms who, during an unplanned pregnancy, say, I'm not ready for this, and I'm not ready to be the parent my child needs, and at this point in my life, and they make that voluntary decision.
So, Stephanie, where were you about 3 years ago in this regard? Were you scared? And explain your discovery of the Bethany Christian Services and how that changed things for you.
Yeah, so when I found myself in an unplanned pregnancy, I was a junior in college. Not exactly the ideal situation. The father in my situation did not want to be part of the picture. So being adopted myself and having an open adoption with my birth mother and my birth father, upon finding out I was pregnant, I knew adoption was the right decision for me right away. But I reached out to Bethany, and they were there to hold my hand through the entire process, from finding the adoptive family to even post-counseling, post-pregnancy counseling services, which were pretty important in my situation. Adoption is a very difficult decision to make for your child. It's a very selfless thing to do, and so I was terrified when I found out, and now people ask me if I could go back and change my unplanned pregnancy, would I? And I always tell them, I may not have planned for my son to be here, but God sure did, and he has a wonderful, loving family, and I'm going to be there to love him his entire life as well. So
that's beautiful.
Something that, something that was very life-changing, and at first seemed like it could be a negative thing, turned out to be the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Absolutely. And if abortion had been chosen, it would have been such a, and I'm not speaking as an opinion, but this is what doctors and what pastors say, that the ladies who had abortions they always regret it all their lives. I don't know if that's always true, but the stories we've heard. So it's a beautiful way to make a decision that'll benefit everybody. So you met the adopted parents when you were pregnant still?
Yeah, so it is different situation by situation, but in my specific situation, I was able to look at several different options of different couples who were waiting families, waiting to adopt a child. And I was able to meet with the first family that I ended up meeting with in person. Actually happened to be the family that I chose, but they came with me to doctor appointments. I was able to go out to dinner with them and really try and build a relationship, a very trusting relationship, so that I knew once my child was born that there would be an ongoing relationship, and I would have the ability to know him and be there for him as he grew up.
And Kris, since you have a background with the mental health system, how important is it for the birth mother and the adoptive mom and dad to be together emotionally? Because the birth mother has to run a gamut of emotions then.
Well, absolutely. In fact, there's loss for everyone involved in adoption. But when they can make that connection and develop that relationship, and from that relationship can build the trust, they have such a much healthier long-term relationship that benefits all of them.
Well,
but it's that trust piece.
Ladies, I really think you're delivering a beautiful message, and I'm hoping that young women who might be in Stephanie's situation that she was in 3 years ago, I'm hoping they're hearing this and going to go to the website that you give. We've got like 15 seconds. What is a good website?
The website, again, is bethany.org, bethany.org.
All right. And Robin already put it on Facebook and on our guest list. So Kris Faasse and Stephanie Berent, happy Mother's Day to both of you. And thank you for being on the show with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. A shooting in Garland, Texas has left 2 suspects dead, a security guard wounded, and happened outside a contest for drawing cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad.
It was just before 7 o'clock Texas time last night when investigators say those 2